Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now, we are joined by Righteous Force, 10th Man, Sleeping Warrior, Flatzoid and Arwin in G+. How you all doing?
Good afternoon.
Good morning.
Hey.
Good morning.
Hello, hello, hello. Also got a whole bunch of people in Discord. Very good to have you all.
Any sign of Earth curvature, guys?
No, not a chance.
Any signs of axial rotation?
No, Earth is definitely stationary. There would
No.
be too many consequences to even name if the Earth were in some kind of motion, and it isn't.
There's no
Any
Coriolis
evidence-
deviation. No, none.
Not just Coriolis, the ether effects. There's just too much. Too much.
Any evidence of a molten iron core? I can't remember exactly how Nathan says it.
At the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth.
Any evidence of that?
No. No.
I heard Channel Q recently saying that she'd seen evidence for all these things, and it's fallen on deaf ears, but I'd like to know what Channel Q's seen, because I'd love to be back on the ball. So if you're out there, Channel Q, let's hear it.
And then she woke up.
Any evidence of... Where are we at?
Distance to the sun.
Yeah. Anyone know how far away the sun is?
Just over there.
Nope.
It's just behind these clouds here.
Yeah, it's just over there, yeah.
Oh, I saw crepuscular rays just yesterday.
That's lovely.
Guys are lying. The sun's here in South Africa. I can see it now.
Hey, I saw clouds behind the sun.
Were they parallel?
You know,
The
this
crepuscular rays were absolutely not parallel.
I'm
They were
pretty sure they are.
And the clouds were moving, so they actually just almost visibly changed their orientation.
Nah, it's just
It
like
seemed
railway tracks.
extremely holographic in nature to me.
Pretty much parallel. If you're a fundy
No.
globe head.
Oh. Well, if you think in R-based terms, then yeah, you could presuppose that it is parallel, but it just because of R-based optics, it is just looks like it's not parallel, right?
Correct. I mean, it's just that was one of Dr. Zach, part of his presentation over in Amsterdam, when he was explaining about pushing out the distance because of that problem. You know, you need to make them basically parallel in the model.
Right.
Anyway,
So some, yeah, crepuscular rays are not parallel, but you can think of them as if they were.
Yeah. And just for anyone that's curious about the crepuscular rays argument, if you're 50-50, whether or not it should be like that on a sphere or not, when you're looking out of the perspective of the observer, vertical lines are always vertical. They don't crepuscularize, if that's the right word. So in other words, if the rays were coming in vertical and parallel, they would always be vertical. They don't angle.
any evidence that you can have gas pressure without the necessary antecedent of a container to press upon for all the fundamentalist religious zealots who believe the sky is a vacuum known as outer space?
Only a moron would think you can have gas pressure next to a vacuum without some kind of containment.
Got rumblings from
But gravity
Doesn't exist.
I've heard people arguing that gravity is the container.
Yeah, let's have that then. Any scientific evidence of gravity? Any scientific evidence of that gravity?
No. No,
Scientific evidence of
no
what?
evidence whatsoever.
Gravity.
SX0's been waiting to get that in for the whole housekeeping. Scientific evidence of what? I miss Travis.
I miss Travis.
Any evidence of a heliocentric zealot using their basic and common senses?
Yeah, plenty of evidence. of
All
that.
over the place.
Well, they can until they actually deal with their global religion, and then it goes all over the place.
Yeah, then they start losing sleep, getting depression. It's all very sad. Any evidence of the R value?
No, only on a 2 dimensions, not on a 3.
Well, there is evidence in math.
Hold on.
So if you presuppose that math is reality, then I guess so.
You mean there's
Maths
any...
is reality.
Somebody said that they will repeat the measurement every year. The ones that Aristophanes, or who's the one that did the measurements?
Depends which way you're looking at it. If you want to take the measuring of the presupposition, then it's Aristophanes. Whereas if you want to take the presupposition itself, who assumed it was a sphere, it's Aristarchus.
Oh, so Eratosthenes based his maths on Aristarchus's assumption that it were a sphere.
It doesn't say that anywhere. I can't find that explicitly stated. But yes, he assumed it's a sphere. So who predates him that first presupposed it's a sphere? Well, that's Aristarchus.
That's what I've been always wondering. Where did Eratosthenes get his presupposition that it were a sphere from? Because how did he know? I mean, we can't even prove that Eratosthenes even existed.
Well,
but
same
if we
goes-
assume that it existed.
Same goes for Aristarchus. But yes, Aristarchus, as far as their narrative is concerned. And how did Kosho phrase it? It was the shadow that gave it away.
Co-show. Co-sign. He's an idiot. They're all idiots. Honest to God, I don't know why the conversation needs to go any further than the gas pressure next to a vacuum without some kind of membrane.
It doesn't.
Why does it even need to go any further than that?
It doesn't.
For me, it doesn't.
That's the end of their argument. That is. You said earlier, if that was while we were in the pre-show, we were talking about what arguments would be great to put in front of school children, and you said, oh well, that would get them talking if they had the question presented: how is it possible to have gas pressure without some sort of membrane when you've got a vacuum of the sky? If they had that question, then I'm sure they'd ponder, well, no, that is the end of their religion. It's not something to ponder. That's the be-all and end-all of this argument. I mean, I think it's a close race with Coriolis effect.
That's
But
why
go on.
Is that Ranty on his new
down
PC?
the gravity thing, because they invoke.
Is it me or is he breaking up like a bitch?
He's got a bit of lag.
Exactly.
He's got a bit of lag, but if we let him go with a few gaps, hopefully he'll get to the end of his sentence. They invoke what? Sorry, SX?
I think he's on Ranty's connection.
Yeah, he is. Hey, Chocolate.
Good morning, guys.
Hey, Joe.
How's everybody?
Did anyone happen to catch Elon Musk's spaceship? That thing was hilarious looking. Doesn't it just look like something out of the 50s? Like the 50s space movies? It looks ridiculous.
I haven't seen that. I don't keep
Nice
up with
and
mainstream.
shiny.
What's it? What would Elon Musk's garbage be titled in this instance?
Oh, what? It's this is launch. He's launching. They were basically just. It was like an unveiling or something of his little bullshit money making stainless steel rocket. It's supposed to. I don't know what it's for. I don't know what it's under again on YouTube. But just search Elon Musk spaceship or whatever. And it should come up because it's only recent.
Maybe someone in the chat will let us know. It's normally called like Falcon Heavy or something of that nature, but hopefully someone in the chat will
They
let us
call
know.
it a starship or something.
Starship?
Yeah, that's it. Starship, that's the one.
Would it be a Starship Enterprise?
Basically.
Well, because that's literally the last thing it will ever be visiting. So yeah, let's call it a Starship.
Yeah, exactly. And it's if you look at the thing, it is so ridiculous looking, and you've got all these idiots in the crowd. He's up there saying an enormous amount of stupidities, and everyone's just clapping. Oh yeah, Elon.
Do you know what?
It's
It
another
wouldn't
fun
surprise me
watch.
if the real Red's rhetoric is actually somewhere in that crowd, and he's there cheering everybody on with the sign that says "Applause now," like they're doing the game shows.
What, you reckon,
Yeah.
you reckon it's all compared? So there's a dude, right? Listen, ladies and gentlemen, when the giant penis takes off, big claps, okay?
Yeah, exactly. Looks like a giant cock. Yeah, you're right.
Hey, Kosho, were your ears burning? I'll take that as a yes.
Hey, Cosine, how are you getting on there?
It might have been me sharing the YouTube link on Jet Panda. I just did that.
I've taken them all off mute. Oh, please. Hello, if you've just joined us. As always, very chatty lot.
Did Simon Dan ever get back to you yet?
Get back to me? What, you mean tweet me again?
Yeah.
Not that I know of, but I don't actually keep an eye on my Twitter. I only coincidentally saw it when I was sharing the show with Twitter. I just saw it underneath, like when you press share in YouTube, it puts your Twitter feed up. Mine's just full of endless links to the show, and then you've got the actual tweet that you're going to send there and then, and underneath it, behind that, you've got whatever your news feed is for the current duration. And when I went in to share it, there was just Simon Dan's post right behind it, and I was like, what's that? Closed out the tweet that I was about to send and went, oh right, hello. And you know the rest. So if he has, I haven't seen it. I don't know is the honest answer, because I don't keep up with Twitter. Sorry if you're following me and you expect me to do anything beyond share the show, which is what I use Twitter for.
Nah, I've never used Twitter. Something I've just never got hold of. But I share on Facebook for you though.
Yeah, I've got Facebook too, but the same thing applies. You know, my newsfeed is just daily links to the show. I don't really pay it much attention. I think it's highly toxic, if I'm honest. When I have paid attention to Facebook in years gone by, I've come away from it every time going, that was a complete waste of time. How toxic.
Yeah, I'm kind of weaning myself off of the pages as well. It's always the same trolls over and over, saying the same shit.
You mentioned in the pre-show, Anthony, about, oh, he's gone. I was going to say, he's talking about Nathan Thompson, but to my knowledge, he's particularly prevalent on Facebook as opposed to on YouTube. So who's just super chatted me? Bear with me a second. Shout out to David Rakia Gifford. Shameless plug. I'm almost to 50 subs, not 50k. Lol. Rakia life. Subscribe today to David Rakia Gifford. Or Gafford. I keep getting your name wrong. I'm so sorry. Dave Rakia Gafford. Thank you very much for the super chat.
So Owen, have you used your camera yet?
Yeah, of course. During the conference.
Got anything to show us yet?
I have on my show. And on the debates, when was it? Yesterday or 2 days ago? I don't remember.
A couple of days ago, you showed us pictures of the van all stickered up.
Right.
Oh, sorry, I've been so busy lately.
That's okay. But yeah, I'm not going out too much because I'm still sick. So. And the weather isn't exactly great over here.
But I assume you've got intentions of going out. Getting some glorious pictures of whatever you get pictures of.
Indeed.
Bird.
Maybe
What?
birds.
Birds. I like your intro, Arwin, on your show.
Right.
Nice.
Chris,
Those are not
Berry.
my videos, by the
That's
way.
Chris
I kept
Berry,
them
isn't
off
it?
YouTube.
Otherwise known as Red Rhetoric.
Right. But who knows? Maybe I can get some good shots of my own of birds. There are some interesting birds going around, so that would be
What?
birds.
But this isn't you, and you're not an ornithologist. I don't get it. Why do you want pictures of birds now? Because your show's called Early Bird.
And maybe I like birds.
I like
Maybe
birds
he's
too.
just
Nothing against
maybe
them.
he's just flapping because it's dead air right now.
Yeah, and it's like a dead zone here for 5 minutes. So no, but yeah,
He's
you
trying
know,
to
there's
capture-
all kinds of things I can do with the camera, and I am going to do with the camera.
Bird landing.
So if Arwin's channel turns into an ornithology channel, then you know why.
Nah, you don't yet, but I'll yeah. I got a hint. My ex loves birds, but nah, just kidding.
So your ex-bird loves birds.
Very good.
Yeah.
Well,
Anyway.
you've seen Dirk's latest video with the drone with the sun going away rather than going over the so-called curve.
Right, the lensing out of existence effect
Yeah, I mean,
goes into warp speed all of a sudden.
yeah, it's interesting how it just disappears when you take that picture from a drone at a higher altitude. Be nice to
And
get a.
The interesting thing about that is I asked around Discord for evidence of sunset from a high altitude, and nobody got back to me yet.
It's a bit grainy when he goes for the close-up because it's on the digital zoom, I suppose. But as the camera technology gets better, I think that's going to really show well.
Yeah, it's pixelation.
Well, I thought sunsets were caused because the Earth, the sun goes underneath the horizon. So how is it fading out without even touching the horizon?
Oh, by the way, did anyone see David Weiss's interview with Mark Sargent about his Alex Jones appearance?
I did.
The other day?
I did. Very
It's
amusing.
pretty clever.
I was like, I liked. They were talking about the advert. It's quite early on in the show, and Dave's kind of a little bit more slow in his speech and a little bit more subdued, and he's like, it's like probably the worst advert I've ever seen, but you know, he didn't sugarcoat it at all. He's detailing a phone call he's had earlier after he's seen the advert with Mark. It's just comical the way Dave didn't sugarcoat it in the slightest. It's like it's awful, because for the last week or 2 weeks I've been going, oh, Mark gets a load of grief. He got it when he talked to the astronaut. He got it when he did this. He gets so much grief, and this advert's that's my attitude. Dave's like, yeah, it's awful.
Right.
They went through at one stage, which, you know, we were talking earlier about people like Flat Earth Reset, and Dave's. I don't know why you'd give him this much credit as an anti good guy on the Flat Earth side, but he also mentioned Flat Earth asshole. He's like asking Mark, who do you think does the most damage in those terms in this community of people that. That's why I phrased it like that to Anthony, of people that say they are actually flat earthers, but basically just go around trolling everybody, like Cheswick. That was an open question to the panel, by the way.
Right. Well, look, you can approach this whole thing the Mark Sargent way, and Patricia Steer way as well, by the way. Both proposed it. Or in some other way. But yeah, it's like this. If somebody's going to be trolling people with flat Earth in a bad way, that's still, I don't know, some people may actually then approach them like, what is this? I have to do something about it. And then suddenly bump into the regular flat earthers and figure out that it was a troll. So it could still have some beneficial effect. Even it's like no matter what they do, no matter how bad they try to make us look, no matter what they do, everything they do just helps us, really. That's the Mark Sargent way.
Yeah, his attitude is there is no such thing as but bad publicity.
Right. Indeed. But yeah, we do have to fix a lot, though. They make a mess, and we do have to kind of clean it up a bit. Doing a good job at it, by the way, Nathan.
Doing a good job at what?
One baller at a time.
Do you guys think Flat Earth Arsehole was a troll? Really? Is that a yes?
Sorry,
Owen,
I didn't
Owen
catch
said,
that.
really?
Oh, what makes you think he was a troll?
Who? Who are we talking about?
Did you hear that, or did you not catch that?
Yeah, I
Said,
catched
what
it.
makes
You
you
caught
think
it.
he
You
was a
said
troll?
who's a troll?
Yeah.
Oh, Flat Earth Arsehole. Whatever his name is, Jake.
Well, that's why I questioned it, because when he said that, I mean, I know he can be a bit of a, that's his kind of his shtick, but I don't know. I didn't see him as being highly disruptive, but I tuned out and lost interest in him at a certain stage. So I don't know if he went on to be a really trolly character, because I didn't follow him.
Is he back on the flat Earth?
No, not really. He sort of gave up on that because purely because of people like Mark Sargent pushing models and shit that had no standing, and that's what he got sick of. And then people were calling him a shill, and because he was going, he was questioning other flat earthers, especially when it came to the AE model that they push all the time, and they sell their little fucking all the shit that they sell. Oh, sorry for swearing. But yeah, that
doesn't make sense though, to live like truth seeking for just because somebody is like trying have a model. Like, I don't care if somebody of you guys have a model. I don't, because I cannot know.
Well, the day that
I totally
people,
care.
the very day that people would quit flat Earth because another flat earther had a different opinion about something, yeah, that's all over.
Well, hold on.
Who said he quit flat Earth? He just quit making videos about it. Doesn't mean he quit it. Stop labeling.
Really?
Oh, I see. So you're saying he just stopped making videos on the subject matter in a similar way Patricia Steer's still a flat earther, but she doesn't make videos anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Nothing wrong with that, in my opinion.
Right. And he went from being flat earth asshole to Jake the asshole.
Yeah, exactly. I really like the way his videos are set out and his content, and just even his character. I know he can be a little bit cheesy at times and just carry on and whatever, but he also has other videos. He does get a little bit conspiratorial at times, and I sort of tune out when he does those sort of things. But at other times he seems to have good arguments and good content.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I do the same with Iro Landucci. And in Spanish, he does good. He gives good information, but when he starts going into conspiracies, like deep into it, I tune out.
Yeah, it's mainly just the unsubstantiated things he comes up with, and it's just a lot of it. I think it's just purely for views. But I mean, he may believe a lot of the stuff. I don't want to put words in his mouth, but
that's why. I'm more for the science though, like the questions that are being asked here, right? Like, I'm more for that. I mean,
Yes.
conspiracies and everything
but
there.
people
Okay,
are
but
different,
no,
though,
I'm
right?
interested on the science and the science side of the what we can prove and what cannot be proven.
Yeah, but that's in that way people are different, right? Like not everybody has the same appetite for the same thing. So some
Right.
people like Silent just said, some people want the science aspect of it. Where's the evidence, the proof? They want to come at it from that perspective. Others want the cute models and to philosophize about what could be, and some people like that too. So some people will like something like Mark Sargent's Clues. I mean, I watched Mark Sargent's Clues. It doesn't mean I believe everything he believes. It's just, it was one of the first things that I saw in Flat Earth when I started watching videos, and that's cool. I accepted it for what it was, and then I move on to the more scientific aspects of it. But some people like Mark Sargent's style or Jake the Asshole because that's how people are different. And if somebody has a model, that's great for them. I don't live on a model. I don't have to accept the model because somebody has one. That's fine. I deal with the reality that I live in. That's where I focus on. But that's just me, I guess. I don't know.
Well, that's the first step, right, Chocolate? Prove things that are being asserted as real, right? And then you can move on to whatever,
Yeah,
like try to
but this is
build a
what I'm
model
saying.
or
Like
whatever.
some people need something like a Mark Sargent Clues type video series to even start opening their minds about it. So that's why I'll never knock Mark Sargent for doing what he does. He's silly. He calls himself silly, but he also calls himself Flat Earth 101 for people who are just getting into it, just trying to find out about it. I'm not sticking with him to find out the absolute proof that I need to prove that I don't live on a magical spinning water ball in a vacuum. I can move on from that, accept what he gave me. All right, thanks, Mark. That was cool. And then I move on. Yep. So he wants to make silly
Surely he
commercials
knows
and
that
stuff.
the
That's
model
great.
he pushes
People are
is
talking
bullshit.
about Flat
That's
Earth.
what
That's
bothers
all
me.
I care about.
You don't know that. You don't know that.
I mean, yeah, I don't know that for a fact, but the likelihood is up there in the 98th percentile, surely.
Who?
Well, 95% of the people, maybe more or
Who are you
less,
talking
I don't
about? Mark
know,
Sargent?
lives in a spinning ball.
Look, I'm sure he's making money from it, which is possibly why he still pushes it, which is it's purely, everyone
what?
seems to have the same sort of reason,
Well-
monetary reasons.
Well,
the
he's
reasons they push
investing
their
his
stuff,
time,
so.
right? He's investing his time. There's
Yeah,
nothing
well-
wrong with making money, though.
Yeah, I think there's something wrong with making money if you're lying to people. That's purely my
Well,
opinion. That's
Who's
where
lying?
I'm sort of.
What if you're
strikes me
being
the wrong
honest?
way.
Being honest and because you may be telling a lie, but you being honest means that you don't know that that's a lie and you believe it to be true.
You totally lost me with that there.
Yeah, being honest doesn't mean that you're telling the truth, though. Being honest means that you're telling what you think to be true, and it may be a lie, but he doesn't know that, right? A lot of people they tell lies, not knowing them, and they're just being honest. They say things that they truly believe to be true.
Yeah, but then it's not a lie. Then it's just incorrect.
Yeah,
Lying
you don't
is
get
about
my point?
knowing that you're incorrect. So
Do you think I'm incorrect?
lying is about knowing. So if you don't know, it's not a lie. You're just incorrect.
Being honest is not about knowing, Arwin.
It's
Being
about
honest is
knowing
about
what you're
telling
doing.
the things that you believe
If
to
you're
be true.
ignorant about what you're saying, then how is that a lie? You're just ignorant. If you know it's wrong, then it's a lie.
Not very often I see this, but Arwen's right.
Well, I
You're
guess
just
I didn't
lying.
explain myself
Arwen is
correctly.
absolutely right about this. I don't even understand why this is in contention. If you know you're lying, if you know something is false and you're telling people that's a lie. If you believe something truly in your heart and you tell somebody else that, you believe it. So it's not lying.
Have you
just-
ever told something that you believe it to be true and then end up being a lie? But you were like, in honesty,
That's not what-
you thought that
that's
was
not what
that
Arwen's
was
saying.
true.
Arwen's
Not
just
what
saying you
Arwen
need.
The thing with Mark
that's-
Sargent is that he puts
hold
everything
on.
else under scrutiny besides the model. So to me, that's a sign that he's dishonest, that he knows it's a lie, because he's the kind of guy that, from all the other things that we see about him, he scrutinizes things and he puts things under under a microscope. You can see that he really likes to test things out. But when it comes to that, something that can be debunked, by anyone, he still pushes it.
What
And
could be
obviously,
debunked?
if it's making him money, then he's gonna continue to do
What
it.
could be debunked?
That to
bro?
me is wrong.
What are you talking about that could be debunked?
He's the AE model that he pushes, the flat with the dome on top, and it's just like a disc.
Really? Who's debunked
Yeah, with
that?
where all the countries are just ridiculously out of proportion, and nothing, it's just
Sort of like the globe?
No, he's got his little model. He's got a model, so that alone tells you that the guy's dishonest.
Why?
in my
Because
opinion.
he wants to believe in the model. So that means he's lying if that's how he feels about the shape of the earth. So that makes him a liar? I don't get it.
That's what I say. Maybe he's honest about that. He truly believed that.
Yeah, so what?
So
Does he speak for me? He doesn't speak for me.
No, that's what I say.
I have
there's
DIPRH's app in my phone. Does that mean I believe in that model? No. It's just an app. It's just an app.
No, I'm not saying that at all. Like I said, I don't know for a
live on-
fact. I'm
I
not
don't
putting
live on
words
the
in his mouth. But what I'm saying here is that
trying to say.
Now
the guy is clearly a smart guy. Surely he's watched this show. You can't listen to this show and still push a model. Like to me, that it's willful ignorance. Like for his own benefit.
You're
Well,
talking.
do you think globebusters are
two
the
different
same?
subjects? They're
Oh,
two different subjects.
Globebusters are the same, yeah.
No, they're two different
Another bunch
subjects.
of bullshit.
One is- oh gosh, you guys all done yet? They're two different subjects. One is, what is a liar? Arwen answered that correctly. The other is, Mark Sargent has a model. Okay, that's his model. He can't prove it.
No,
That's just-
sorry. That's not. We're talking about Dearth. So I've spoken to Mark Sargent about him and his use of his model. I've spoken to him personally about it, and he regards it as a tool, a useful tool to get people to conceptualize a different way of thinking about their world. That's how he described it to me. That might not be verbatim, but that's pretty much what he said. So it's not Mark we're talking about. We're talking about Dearth. Now, Dearth's a mate of mine, so I'm staying very quiet because I agree with Unicorn. That's, I've pissed Dearth off. I like him. That's the bottom line here, and I'm not afraid to express the reason why I'm staying quiet, because this is a conflict for me. There we go. I'm just being honest.
Okay, let me allow me to finish, if I may. It's a lot of Anthony believes in an ice fall. Okay, but he can't prove it. But I don't say Anthony's lying. Anthony's saying that it's a possibility. Now, are these people that we're talking about in the same wavelength as Anthony? It's just a possibility it could match their model, or are they saying I've got scientific evidence that it's my model is what it is? What are they saying?
Are you saying Anthony's still going around punting the ice wall? That bastard! How dare he?
Well, all I'm saying is, at least the part of this conversation, I thought Arwin answered correctly when he said what a liar was. And people are now saying, yeah, but they got these weird beliefs and it doesn't match our show, so they're lying. I go, what? No, the guy's just got a model. He can't prove it. He's just saying, this is what I think it is. Okay, let him have it. It's like Chocolate saying, I don't have to buy into that.
Exactly. Yeah.
But
Yeah,
he's
but
not
that's-
lying.
Models
Hold
are.
on.
That's what he believes.
Hold on, 10th man. Go on, Unicorn, because I don't think that's the point you're making here.
No, it's not at all. I'm basically trying to say that models are pseudoscience. So, and like I was trying to say before, these are smart guys. They're the sort of guys that scrutinize things, that put they use a scientific method. I'd like to think that they would, like they should. So if they're pushing these pseudoscientific models, reification fallacy, I just shut out. I don't listen to that crap. I'm like that in that sense.
Oh, I
All right, but
understand what
you're an
saying.
advanced flat earther.
Oh,
You gotta
hold on,
keep
hold
in
on.
mind that
All
beginner
right,
flat
but here's
earthers
the
need
thing,
visual
though. Here's the thing.
demonstrations.
You gotta
Hold
understand
on.
that Mark Sargent and those people are not talking to us.
Yeah, good
Hold on.
point.
Nathan said
Exactly
it best,
the reason
right?
that somebody like Mark Sargent calls himself Flat Earth 101. For people who are just getting
on.
into this and want to find out more about it.
Who just said that? Was it SX0 said he's not talking? Mark Sargent's not talking to us. Who said that?
I think I was silent.
It was
SX.
both me and Silent kind of saying the same thing.
Yeah, you're spot on. Absolutely. And Chocolate, you're correct. Yes, Flat Earth 101. He's not talking to us. We're at the cutting edge. Without sounding arrogant, we are. We're right on the cutting edge of this argument. So to expect Dearth and Mark Sargent to be also on the cutting edge of this argument in that regard, it might not feel like it's the cutting edge if you're in comprehension of the arguments that we have here. But that doesn't mean that it's not the cutting edge. It is. So our expectations might be a little bit high in that regard. Now, don't get me wrong. I would love to sit down with Dearth and say, let's educate you a bit better. But it'd be so patronising and condescending to a guy who knows this subject very, very well that I don't see it as being necessary when what Chocolate has said and what SX has said is absolutely correct. If you're trying, and Mark has actually qualified this to me personally, if you're trying to explain to somebody who only has a conception of a reification that is a globe model, and they cannot in any way, shape or form expand beyond that, then a model is useful to open their mind to that. Now, while I don't agree with it, it's not something I'm going to go along and tell him that he's doing it wrong, because I don't think that he is. I think he's, in the same way when I was first looking at this subject through the videos, including Mark Sargent's, I saw those ideas and they permeated with me. Doesn't mean I necessarily took them on board and took them as read or immediately aligned with those ideas, but they certainly permeated with me. And that is something that I wouldn't want to take away from anyone else who is new to this argument. And they are offering exactly that. Now, if you ask them, if you put them on the spot, would they agree with you that a model's a reification fallacy? Probably. I don't know that for a certain. I've never asked the question, but I'd be very surprised if they didn't. And if they went, what's a reification fallacy, and you explained it, I'm pretty certain they'd warm to the idea. They wouldn't fight you on it. Anyway, I'm just going to shout out a couple of super chatters. So, Truth in Your Face says, I have a model. She's asleep at the moment. So thank you very much indeed, Truth in Your Face. Subscribe to Truth in Your Face. He is a YouTuber who does make videos, as I assume, I haven't checked, I was trying to earlier, check David Rakia Gifford, who's apparently, I keep calling you Gifford, Dave Rakia Gafford, who is also looking to gain subscribers. So there we go, subscribe today. Evil hiding creator from us using creation deception. Wake up and share your pain, says David Rakia Gafford. Thank you very much indeed for the super chat. Truth in Your Face and David Rakia Gafford. Really appreciate the support.
So, Nathan, on this subject that we're talking about, I remember when you went on Globebusters and we're talking to Bob about the ring laser gyro. Now, you had to put your foot down there because of the obvious, how can I put it, outcome of what he was saying. And we all know what happened after that. But he wasn't saying that this was a model, was he?
I don't know. I mean, in that regard, that's not my favourite hour to discuss. It's a very uncomfortable subject because that, in my opinion, was something that was necessary, but I absolutely did not want to do. So it was only upon, discussing with John how the scientific method is, a great tool to chop the heads off globers. And, tentatively, although it was, John explained, well, unfortunately, this knife cuts both ways. If you've got bullshitting flat earthers asserting that they've got scientific validity to experiments, you're going to have to call them out on it at some point. It's going to come to that. And I'm like, oh, great. So it's going to be flat earther on flat earther, and it's going to be deemed just like the same as the gossipy arguing about bullshit that you get from people like Flat Earth Reset. It's like, this isn't that. I don't want to step in the ring with people like Bob. That is not my objective. I know where that leads. It doesn't gain me subscribers, support, or anything of that nature. Quite the contrary. But to have any integrity, dignity, however you want to see it, me personally, I had to address that. It's like in this arena where we do have television programs saying that a flat earther has proved the earth spins, that's a pretty big deal in this arena. That's going to be paid attention to, and it needed to be addressed. Now, it didn't go over well, and I knew it wouldn't go over well, but it needed to be done. Do I want to do, without mentioning any names, what's going on at the moment with flat earthers chasing each other in terms of Anthony's legal submission and its validity if it was put before a judge, which it never will be? That to me is moot. It's not important to be discussed, certainly not debated or argued about. It doesn't have any benefit at the end of it. Explaining or undoing the assertion that a non-inertial spinning reference frame underneath a fixed gyro frame does not give you a 15-degree turn an hour of a spinning ball Earth, because if it did, Charlotte, North Carolina to LA would take an hour and a half because Earth spins underneath, as it's alleged to do in the gyro. That's a point that needed to be made clear to Bob, unfortunately, in this instance, and other flat earthers who watch his show, because I don't want people to be left with the impression that somehow a flatty has proved Earth spins with a formal logical fallacy, which is all it is. A formal logical fallacy that falls apart when you point out that that reference frame example only works if other things deviate in the inertial reference frame. And that would be planes, drones, balls, bullets, anything that's leaving the non-inertial spinning reference frame of a begged question, spinning ball Earth. Well, I'm not interested in anything beyond the argument in that regard. I've got nothing personal against Bob. I actually quite like Bob. I think he's ace. He's got a fire in his belly that I respect in a big way. So do I want to piss him off and have him fighting against me and calling me a grocery delivery boy because he doesn't like what I'm attacking? No. I expected it. I know Bob reasonably well. I knew what the reaction would be. Doesn't change the fact that the information I had to offer needed to be presented. Not something I wanted to do, though. I'd much prefer that my rapid growth that I was experiencing at the time as a YouTuber, that I wish that continued. That drew an immediate halt to that. And I stayed where I was at 14.9 thousand subscribers for about 9 months as a direct consequence. That was the moment my growth stopped. And I knew that would be the case. I did it anyway because the subject matter is extremely important to me. Yeah, I'm a YouTuber first and foremost, I never deny it. Doesn't mean I'm not passionate about the subject I'm talking about. I wouldn't be a good YouTuber. I'm blowing my own trumpet a bit too much here. If I didn't get the passion that I had for the subject we're talking about. And unfortunately, in this regard, when there's someone on your own side that has a rhetoric that is absolutely complementing your opponent's argument, you've got to address that, or at least I feel with integrity that that's something I had to do, as I felt I was in a position to attack the assertion of science. In that regard, it was something that was heavily discussed on the show at the time, relatively new to me in terms of the way it was being argued, and something that I knew from very soon on from finding out how that argument gets constructed or how it deconstructs a bullshit pseudoscience assertion, that would inevitably happen on my own side. And what do we want? That as an individual, I'll ask the audience, what do you want? Do you want us to go forth as solidarity and all hands together and kumbaya flat earthers because solidarity is the most important thing in this community? Or do you want reality? Do you want the truth? Do you want pseudoscience to be prevailing in a flat earth community that has solidarity? Or do you want reality? And I'm only interested in one thing. The solidarity, as much as I want it to grow my YouTube channel, that can be put on the back burner if we've got the same exact problem in flat earth as we're trying to fight against in globe earth. And that's pseudoscience. That's the problem here. You can sum up the problem we have in our indoctrination, our schooling, you name it, it can all be summed up with one word in this arena: pseudoscience. Yeah, that's what's indoctrinated us. And if we are doing the same and we are punting our nonsense assertions as science, we're no better than they, and we'll have exactly the same problems in 5 generations or 4 generations or in this generation if we all unite in our pseudoscience assertions. I'm not for that. I know it's wrong, and I can't, as a conscientious human being, allow myself to let that information permeate in every single corner of our community with one of the biggest YouTubers in this community. Now, I keep saying it because it's the facts of the matter. In so doing, it's going to cost you friends, it's going to cost you subscribers, it's going to cost you revenue. That's why I'm a YouTuber. I'm here to make money on YouTube. Never denied it. And all of those things I knew would suffer for standing up for what is correct, with someone on my own side who is as fiery as I am. You know, shout out to Bob No Doubt. The guy's ace. He's done a lot for this community. He didn't deserve me on his back for an incorrect assertion, made through ignorance, as Arwin's phrased it earlier, that led to television people taking advantage of him and making out like he's proved Earth spins, when he hasn't. He was just ignorant to scientific validity he didn't have. Now, I didn't want to be the one to point it out. It was me. And would I change anything? Absolutely not. Not a chance. If it cost me more subscribers or the channel entirely, I'd still do the same thing. That's what having integrity is, isn't it? If you understand it. Now, I'm going through this great big long tirade because of what Flatulent Unicorn's saying. Initially, it's me staying silent. Now it's talking about Bob, that's all out in the open. The last thing I want to do here is lose friendship with DITRH. And forget our beliefs in regards to the globe Earth. That's irrelevant. I like him, he's a friend, and I wouldn't want to jeopardise that. So it's an uncomfortable subject to talk about. At the time, I wasn't particularly close with Bob, but I was well acquainted with him. And that, again, I knew on a personal level, that would all disappear as a direct consequence of challenging on scientific validity of the gyroscope that had been heavily invested in. It's had a lot of money, a lot of publicity, a lot of heartbreak when the TV people stabbed them in the back. You know, it's not exactly the best of subject to approach people on, right? You're going to be sensitive about it? Yeah, I knew all that too. It had all been contemplated, and I knew the end result, which I got in spades. But there we go. Flatulent Unicorn's now questioning the same thing. He's saying, why are the people on our own side asserting pseudoscience models? They've got to have nefarious intentions, although that's slightly elaborating on how it was phrased more delicately by Flatulent Unicorn. Chuckle, chuckle. But yeah, the point is they're punting models, and models are pseudoscience. Can I disagree with Flatulent Unicorn? No. Push comes to shove, I'd agree with him and back him. So, you know, my personal feelings would have to be set aside in that regard, and it's a difficult thing. It leaves a lump in my throat because these people are friends and we all want unity, right? Hashtag same team. Well, that was me pretending to vomit.
That's why I respect you and your show, Nathan, because you pull rank and you put people into check. People on our side, so to speak, you know, and you don't let bullshit slide. Same with Quantum Eraser, he's the same. And people, you know, have his thoughts about him. He's, you know, the way he comes across, but the guy's just no bullshit. And I would much rather say people like Mark Sargent and all the early flat earthers to, if it's ignorance like you're saying and they don't really know, okay, fine, but I would much rather the new flat earthers, like the people that we're trying to, you know, you could say convince or to show the truth to, you know, show them the truth from the start. You don't need to explain to them why a model is a reification fallacy from the get-go. And then you can just get rid of models altogether. And then no one can have models because they're pseudoscience. So then we, you know, if we're going to push science, we're going to push science. Yeah, and that's it.
But you've become an evangelist for this message, and that's good. That's, you know, if I'm the only one with a certain message, I'm the only evangelist for gas pressure without a container, or Quantum Eraser is the only evangelist. He was the original evangelist for that particular message. Well, he's passed that message on to a certain number of people, and that's spread. Now, that message has spread far enough for it to reach Mark Sargent in such a way that he can concisely summarise that argument on the fly during a back and forth with an interviewer and give it in a new spin with a shiny new polish on it. To me, that's the victory, as opposed to saying, you and your bloody models, what are you doing? That's how we get the aggressive people on our own side attacking us. Now, that's why I gave such a long, elaborate, carefully and detailed explanation to what happened between Bob and I, because that's something that was pondered on and considered. Now, I'm not saying that you haven't considered this, Flatulent Unicorn, and it's slightly different to you. Dirth's not your mate. Mark's, I don't know Mark that well, but I'm very well acquainted with Mark, and he's a good guy. You know, again, I wouldn't want to piss Mark off, and he does get pissed off. He got, I don't want to say upset, but it certainly pushed his buttons when people were poking him about his interview on Good Morning TV or whatever it was here in the UK. So these people are normal human beings with feelings. I'm not saying Mark's oversensitive to anybody who takes the wrong idea from that. He's not. But ultimately speaking, if we're all hands around the fire, unity, kumbaya, it doesn't stop us from actually punting similar bullshit to our opponents. And that's your point here. You don't want them punting models. Now, there's an argument that Chocolate's had that it's just Flat Earth 101, and I've put the same argument as devil's advocate for Mark Sargent himself in terms of how he phrased it to me. It's just a teaching tool. It's just a way of explaining it to a newbie who's never conceptualised anything beyond the model reification they have already. Now, give it 6 months, so long as more people are watching this show. Hopefully you'll all share in the audience right now, and get it to people who can permeate that further. And then if it reaches people via way of a third party, the same argument, and Mark and Dirth and whoever punts it in the way we punt it, which obviously we think is the best way because we're all race, right? We're all brilliant. So we want our arguments punted in our way. And eventually they will. If they're good arguments, they'll stick. So, like the gas pressure without a container, Mark argues that, as well as anybody here could argue it. So, you know, just take off your hat to him and say, great. And hopefully, by punting out the winning arguments, the ones that trigger all the people in the chat to say my name like little bitches, those arguments will reach a wider audience and eventually get back to people like Dirth anyway, even if they aren't watching every single show and paying the closest of attention to scrutinise our arguments and why they win and why they are good arguments. They might never have heard the word models are pseudoscience. They just might not have heard that, for all we know. So, you know, don't be too hard on them is all I'm trying to say. You know, don't be a
religious hard.
A monster. Hey, welcome back.
Hey.
I think somebody had a question for you, Anthony. Who is it that had a question for Anthony?
I just had a call to take and it just came at the same time as this, so I had to drop. I'm courteous. I don't leave the microphone open whilst I'm dropped. So
yeah, right. Like Ranty did the other day. So
yeah, shout out to Paul Hall. He always does it.
Also for the rumpus out there, don't be cowards. You're supposed to be fighting this.
Hey, Nathan, I think there's a difference between what you did with Bob at Globebusters versus what we're talking about with flat earthers having models that they can't prove. I think there's a big difference there because one was supposedly done in a scientific method and you called it. So I think that was the big difference, and you had to do what you had to do. Whereas if someone wants to say, I think it could be this, and this is my model for it, and then if asked directly, well, is there any proof for this? Is there any scientific proof in any way, shape, or form? And if they say, no, this is just my model, I think that's fine because it's just his opinion. But when you're going to say that your gyro scientifically proved the Earth was moving underneath, well, now you're going to get challenged because it's not doing it under the airplane, the helicopter, all these other things.
I think the best way to deal with the Coriolis arguments is just literally to say, prove the Earth's turning first, and then we can argue about whether or not there's an apparent deflection or whether or not this or whether or not that. Because until you prove that the Earth's turning, it is a moot point.
But we're talking about models, actually. You know, flat earthers coming up with models like you saying that there's an ice wall and you believe there's an ice wall, which it might be.
Whoa. I didn't say that I believe there's an ice wall. Let's just clarify that. I said there's a logical and reasonable point where the sun can no longer prevent the water from turning into ice. I didn't say I believe that there was one. I just accept the possibility that there might be one.
Okay, that's fine. Same thing. I mean, I'm not saying
Is it balls?
no. It's fine. I mean, I'm not. You're not coming out and showing every point where this ice wall connects to each other, making a full circle. You're not doing that. You're just saying it's a possibility.
Yeah.
You have an open mind. That's okay. I think that's okay to do those things because you're not making a claim.
Yeah.
I don't mean to poke the bear any further here, but does Jeranism still push a model, a globe, a flat Earth model?
I don't know.
I
don't think we need to push any models. I think all we need to do is point out that you can't have gas pressure.
I never heard Jerem pushing models. I didn't.
Could be wrong there. Pretty sure it used to though. But anyway,
I could be wrong. But
doesn't matter anymore anyway.
I think Jaren is one of the other guys that is like truly, they actually are honest people.
Right, I'll clear that up straight
away.
Yeah,
like I don't know. I can't agree with any of that because
I just want to clear that up in regards. Sorry to interrupt. I just want to clear that up before I round out the live show and ask the Nathan Oakley audience to stay tuned. So, in the regards to Jaren, I've heard him explicitly say that he would have preferred to have never declared he was a flat earther and just been in the position to deny the globe rather than declare anything in terms of his reality. And I've also heard him declare that he doesn't like to hold any beliefs. So I would, based on what I've heard him say explicitly, I would say that no, he definitely doesn't hold on to any beliefs in regards to models. Now, if I'm speaking out of turn, I'm sure he'll let me know, but I'm pretty confident in saying that.
And that's the best position we can take. You're better off making no claims, then you don't have to provide any evidence. Just say you can't have gas pressure without a container. You can't have gas pressure next to a vacuum without some kind of membrane. Because we all know that that's true. But the minute you say the Earth might be flat, they're just going to come back and say, let's see your model. That drives me mad. Again, like, what realistically can you expect me to present when I've got a P900 and a compass, right?
Right, and I agree with you 100%. But again, there are people who are just coming into this topic who need to have something else to look at or think about, because all they've had in their brain for their entire life is a spinning water ball in a vacuum. So some people need that extra, map or model or something, right? Just to give them some type of a different perspective.
Yeah, it's like a rehab drug.
Yeah, it's not to say that it's absolutely true. I've pulled out the DITRH app on people and it's shown them, how things could work. But the first thing I do when I do that is say, I'm not saying that this is how the world is or what it looks like. Absolutely. I'm saying this is an aspect that maybe it is what it is.
So if Arwin's saying that the globe model is crack, then the AA model is basically the methadone to the crack that is the globe model. And with that, I'm going to say, if you're watching this on Nathan Oakley premiering stream, then stay tuned as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, if you're watching this live on Nathan Oakley 1980, this is where we bid you farewell. A huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you. Smashed the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, and all that good stuff. Of course, a massive thank you to today's debating panel for making this live show possible. I've been Nathan Oakley. Stay tuned if you're watching on the Nathan Oakley premiering stream, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!